Hi, I'm John Trishler with SPVparts.com, and today we are going to do an install of the 3 Pro lights from Rigid, the SAE, the Driving, and the Spot, and the like kind from Baja Designs, SAE, Driving, and Spot. And we're going to put one pair or one set of each in each side. So Baja Designs on one, Rigid on the other. So this way we're going to be able to really compare how they look side by side in the same truck. Typically it's more difficult to do that when you've got one truck with one and one truck with the other at different times. You really can't see exactly what the differences are and the color of the light and so on. This will give us the opportunity to do that. Now we're going to install these with the premium SPV Parts stainless steel brackets. Now these are fully slotted and adjustable. And one thing that we did to make these brackets work with both of these lights is we enlarged the slots here so that they're going to accommodate bolts for both sizes, for both the Rigid and for the Baja Design, so they're truly a perfect match for both. We also, in comparison, were able to move the slots over so that they're going to center the lights a little bit better with both the Baja Designs and the Rigid. The Rigid are going to have a slot on their bracket, their U bracket itself, so you can slide it this way and that way. And then they're going to also be centered if you don't have that for your Baja Designs. So let's go ahead and put these in here and compare them as far as their look, their light output, and their quality. All right, so once it gets dark, we're going to go ahead and review the lights and turn them on and compare them in the dark, kind of like we did with our Radiance versus our Scene. But after we do that, I want to spend a few minutes with you guys and kind of show you. I want to lay all 6 lights out so you can kind of see the Rigid side and the Baja Design side. And I'm going to show you the lights, I'm going to show you the hardware, I'm going to show you how they install, the pluses, the minuses to both, and that might help you make an informed decision when it comes time to actually selecting your lights, because these are the 2 most popular light brands for the Raptor. There are certainly some other cheaper brands out there that are definitely not the quality that these 2 are. So when it comes to picking the best light for your Raptor, you definitely want to stay within your Baja Designs and Rigid. It's kind of, think of it kind of like your Ford and Chevy. You know, you got guys that love Chevy, you got guys that love Ford, some don't like to cross over, some do. Either way, no matter how you look at it, those are probably 2 of the best American vehicles out there as far as a truck goes. It's kind of one of those things, it's really personal preference for different people. Some people swear up and down by Baja Designs, some people swear up and down by Rigid. But again, the purpose of this video is to kind of help you understand exactly what both of them are all about. Again, the 2 top companies for lighting, for automotive and off-road, Baja Designs and Rigid. We're going to break them all down. All right, so here are the Baja Designs here for the Raptor. As you can see, they fit perfect. This uses our SPV Performance Parts bracket, as you see. And our bracket is designed to house both the Baja Designs and the Rigid lights with the best overall positioning, I think, that's on the market right there. And you can see right now exactly what I'm talking about. You don't really want the far right light to be any further than that. It would be blocked off in the side pocket as that slants and gets smaller. You don't want the left light to be any further to the left either. So our design and our slot positioning is really just where you need it to be for accommodating the Baja Designs and for the Radiance or the Rigid lights as well. Now the slots move forward and back as well, so that allows you to bring the lights as far forward as possible to get that perfect position as well. So I do like the positioning on this. Hopefully you do as well, and you can see exactly how these lights look in the pockets. All right, now we are here on the Rigid side as well. Now you can see same thing, positioning is just perfect right there. One thing I'd like to point out as well, the brackets themselves are on a slot that goes up and down, so they can be raised up. I've got it down probably just a little bit here. It's not bad, but if I were gonna adjust it a little bit more, spend a little more time, I could raise that up just a little bit, which would bring this light right here up a little bit, and so on. But for the sake of this video, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time doing a bunch of minor adjustments when we're going to switch these lights out again here shortly. But as you can see, positioning wise, perfect. The nice thing about the rigid as well, you have some slots this way, but our slots come far forward, so you can bring those lights as close to that bumper as possible, and your positioning from left to right is absolutely the way you would want it to be. All right, so here we are in front of the Raptor to compare the Baja designs and the rigid lights in the like pairs. So the first set we have on right here are the spotlights. So let's, again, you can look at them. I'm looking through the lens because it is kind of difficult, obviously, to look directly at them without the safety of the camera. But you can see here, if I look to the right, there's a little more yellow to the Baja designs. To the left, a little more of that blue-white light. I think that's a little more visible for you. More of a daylight, it looks like, kind of with the color output of the rigid. Do you see? Hopefully that'll translate in the video. All right, so let's go ahead and move back behind this Raptor here now. And let's just look. Again, these are the spotlights. So let's look down this road here. The spotlights are long and narrow. With both of them on, you can see lights up the road pretty good. Now, I'm going to cover the rigid side here. I'm going to cover the rigid side completely. All right, so I've got the rigid side covered. Hopefully there, yeah. So you can see what the Baja designs look like there. All right, now we're going to go ahead over here to the Baja designs cut side, and we're going to cover it instead. All right, so now this is our rigid side. Again, our long and narrow light. Comparing the two, in my opinion, let me pull this off again here real quick. I think, again, I notice a little bit more of that yellowish light. It's not as much of a bluish, whitish daylight light between the two, if I'm comparing the light output. It's really hard to tell if one's brighter than the other, really. They're both really bright. Let's try to stand in front of this. In front of this one. I think they're both pretty close. Again, just the rigid, it seems like, has a little bit more of that white or that blue kind of daylight light with its Pro Series spotlight. So let's check out the SAE next. All right, so here we are with our SAE lights. Rigid versus Baja. Looking at the lights in the front of the truck, looking directly at them. Now, this looks like the opposite of what we saw the last time. The Baja in the SAE looks to be more of that bluish, whitish daylight light. We just lost our focus here, sorry. But it seems to be more that bluish daylight light. So let's go ahead and cover these up. Again, there's no comparison to an SAE light versus the Pro or off-road lights, I'm sorry. You know what, now as I get closer though, I've got more of that blue looking white light here with the rigid, so it's really hard to tell. Let's take a look forward and see what it looks like. We're going to go ahead and cover one side. We're going to cover the rigid side for now. Okay, rigid side is covered. And there's our light output. All right, so now we've got our Baja design side covered, and there's our rigid SAE. In the SAE, although they both have to be compliant with federal government regulations, and it's really hard to tell because this thing keeps getting blurry. Not really good in the night here, but it almost looks like maybe the Baja Designs SAE is slightly brighter, but again, they do have to follow certain regulations, so they can't be that much different. So let's go ahead and take a look now at the next off-road light, which is going to be the extreme one. Let's take a look at the Driving Pro of both companies. Okay, Driving Pro on the rigid side. Now the Baja Design side is blocked off. You can see that pattern. Again, it's going to be nice and bright and wide. And let's take a look at the Baja Designs side. Let's go ahead and block the rigid side off. All right, Baja Designs side. That's what it looks like. Let's go ahead and take the rigid side off here again. I think it's pretty easy to tell that the rigid driving looks like it puts out more light than the Baja Designs Pro driving light. Looking at that comparison, I think that one's a huge winner for Rigid. So in the Driving Pro, and again, the thing about this comparison is that both of these light companies are two of the best. But sometimes it's really hard to tell and to decide with one company versus the other. And that's what the idea of this is, depending on which light output and which light type you're getting and so on. As you can see, you know, for example, from this comparison, the driving side, Rigid takes the cake here, but on the SAE, you're getting a little more out of the SAE with the Baja light, it looks like. And then you flip over to the Spotlight, and they're both very comparable, but I do like the fact that the Rigid light seems to have a wider, more of a daylight type light as well. So let's go ahead, because we did this backwards. Let's go ahead and take a look directly at these two lights. And looking to the right again, same thing I saw with that Spot, a little more yellow, less daylight type color pattern with the Baja Designs on the right versus that blue daylight, blue-white daylight type light output from the Rigid on the left. So again, there's a nice side-by-side comparison for you guys. I mean, I'm sure this is something that you probably haven't seen before. Pattern-wise, that driving light on the Rigid, see, it's kind of more of a V there. The Baja is a little bit wider here at front, but again, it looks like you're getting more light output here with that Rigid. So I think that's the winner on the driving. The winner on the Spot, and I'd have to give the SAE probably to Baja Designs as far as the SAE. But again, depending on what you're looking for, the SAEs are your street legal. If you're worried about having a street legal light, then you can go with that. If you aren't worried about having a street legal light, then it really doesn't matter which one you choose. So again, it's personal preference. Go from there. Both have their own unique styles, both are high quality, and the choice is yours. Both the Rigid and the Baja Designs lights are available on spvparts.com to package and build your own kits. So if you are looking for the Rigid series, Pro series like this, or the Baja Designs series like you see on the other side, you can purchase those on spvparts.com. You can build your own kits, you can do your own combinations. If you don't want an SAE and you want more driving, you want wide patterns, you name it, you can build any combination that you want with either brand with our exclusive brackets that, as you could see earlier, allow you to adjust them to the most perfect fit into the pockets of your 2017 plus Ford Raptor. And anyway, yeah, I think you should check it out. We've got everything you need as far as that goes. So look forward to seeing you there. That's spvparts.com. All right, so we had a chance to check out the two lights, the Baja Designs here on my right and the Rigid on my left, installed in our Raptor, side by side for comparison's sake. And hopefully that bit was informative to you to see how the two performed. I think you'll know now, and this is one of the things I don't think there's just a lot of information out there on, is that the two are very, very comparable with the comparable models, you know, SAE to SAE, driving to driving, and spot to spot, and so on. So both are going to be very, very similar in a lot of ways. So it really comes down to these really being the top two brands that are out there, similar to like Ford and Chevy. You know, you get your guys that are just exclusive Chevy buyers, you get your guys that are Ford buyers, and I've really noticed that with the Baja Designs and Rigid. It seems like the community's really split between the two. And that's fine. You pick, obviously, which one you prefer, one over the other. I don't think you're going to go wrong with either one of them. But I would say that, you know, if you want the quality for the truck that you've got, you know, when you're spending $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 on a Raptor, you really don't want to spend $150 or $200 on a set of lights for it that they're going to burn out in a month or turn yellow or whatever. So you won't get that with these two. So from there, you could see the performance and the quality between the two is very similar, model to model, like spot to spot, SAE to SAE, and driving to driving. So from there, it's really personal preference as far as which one you like. And that's why we've got them here. I'm going to show you a couple of physical differences between the two and some of the hardware differences between the two and how they mount. And that might help you draw some other conclusions. I think you'll probably remember from earlier here in the video when we did do that breakdown between the two that in some cases it seemed like the Rigid in general, their pro lights were a little brighter than the Baja designs, which is interesting because I think in some cases the Baja designs lumens are rated just a little higher, but in person and installed side by side, they were maybe a little closer or maybe leaning Rigid's way in a lot of spots. The SAE though, it seemed like the SAE was a little bit brighter in the Baja designs. SAE is a tough one. SAE is street legal, so it can only have so much. It can only be so bright. Otherwise, it doesn't, fit into that street legal category. So they do have to go through a lot of testing to get that result. So from there, it's really just a personal preference from there. So let's talk about some of the physical differences between the two. So the Baja designs and the Rigid, as you can see the cases of them, the Baja designs case is slightly smaller than the Rigid. So it does take up a little less space in the pocket. Now you could go either way with that. You could say, well, that's good, you've got more room to move around, or you might say with the Rigid you like that because it closes the hole off better. So that's, that's personal preference as far as which style you look. Both of them fit in there great. All right, now you'll also notice that both of them have their mounts here on the bottom side. Now with that, the hardware that both of them come with are very similar. They're these little U brackets, and the Rigid, it mounts here on the bottom, and the Baja designs, it mounts right here on the bottom. The brackets themselves though, the Baja is not as stout. It's probably about 1/3 the thickness of the Rigid. So it's not as stout as the Rigid is, a little more flexible, which actually the next thing I'm going to show you is a good thing for that because it needs to be. So one of the things that I like better about the Rigid is that their brackets, or this bracket, it fits really well. It doesn't have any slop in there. So when you slide that in, you do put a bolt here underneath, and then you're going to slide your little screws in, and you're going to tighten that down. So I do like the fact that this is a little more stout. The Baja designs, again, it mounts here. You've got these little spade star washers, and so you're going to insert these little screws here on the side. You don't have a nut to put on the inside, you just have these small screws. So you put those in, and then you're going to tighten those down, and that's going to keep this from moving. Now the only thing that I don't like about this, aside from this bracket being a little bit thinner, is that it's got a lot of slop, as you can see here. That's quite a bit of slop. So what you have to do is crank that down, and it's going to bow that bracket. You see that? So I'm not a big fan of that. The other thing I don't like is that there's really nowhere to go up or down here. So you've got no adjustment with that. With the Rigid, you actually can lift it up and down a little bit inside there before you bolt it down. So you've got a little bit more height adjustment and advantage there. The Baja designs also, on their bracket, has just one single hole. There's no slot to move it back and forth on. The Rigid, you do have this slot, so you can actually have a little bit more play this way as well, and it just gives you a little bit more room. So in that case, hardware-wise, I think I'd give that to the Rigid as well. One thing here about SPV Parts is we design our kits to work with your Raptor to give you the highest quality kit that you can. And Baja Designs also offers a bracket for the Raptor. Mostly it's with their Raptor kits. I don't think they offer a standalone bracket, if I'm not mistaken. They just have fog kits that come with a bracket. Ours, we designed to be compatible with both the Rigid and the Baja designs. So your slots here are adjustable for both. They give you the most adjustment. It spaces that Baja designs out in the right locations, and then you can also move it forward and back. But we've done a really good job, and we work really hard to get that spacing moved so that even though this has just one single hole, it's going to look right in the bumper. And you saw that earlier, I'm sure. So that is an advantage to our bracket. Our brackets are also stainless steel, and so you're not going to have to worry about rust, and they're black powder coated. So they're nice and heavy duty, and they have better mounting and better hardware than the comparable brackets with either company. So we take the best lights in either case, and we package them with the best brackets and the best hardware and custom wire harnesses for your Raptors that you don't get with either company. So when you buy one of these kits from us, you're going to get the best quality, and you're going to get a completed kit. You're going to get everything that you need. You don't have to think real hard to try to get it put together. It's just going to work, and you're going to have everything that you need. So there's that. Now, the last thing that I'd like to touch on that I kind of like about the Rigid versus the Baja designs is that the optional flip bracket that they offer allows you to rotate that light and put the other bracket in from the top. So for those of you that are worried about the name being upside down, just like this, on both, the Rigid ones, has an optional bracket that we offer with our kits that allow you to rotate that. Now, one way around that, on either case, you can take the small screws out of the front and you can rotate the covers. I've heard of many people doing that, but Rigid will tell you that if you do that, then they will not cover you under warranty if you have water damage to your light. So to alleviate that, again, you can get these optional flip brackets and you don't have to do anything. So I think that's another advantage to the Rigid light. But again, these are the two best quality, highest quality lights out there, and you can't go wrong with either one of them. You can get both kits at spvparts.com. Again, that's spvparts.com. Check us out. We've got optional kits. You can build your own series, no matter what style you want, as far as SAE, spot, driving, flood, you name it. On either case, there's several different variations that we haven't talked about here that you can get in either one of them. But we just wanted to do this video so that for the guys that are really torn, whether they go with the Baja designs or they go with the Rigid, again, both are fantastic. But now, at least you can see them side by side and kind of understand the differences and how they compare. And then you can go with what you want, if it's the Baja designs or the Rigid. And again, you can get those all on spvparts.com with our complete kits, harnesses available, and brackets, and everything is going to fit perfect. And you can be happy and assured that both lights, again, are going to have a lifetime warranty with them. So you can be happy and rest assured that you got the best light out there with either company. So again, visit us again at spvparts.com.